بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد. Our Shaykh today recited Surah Al-An'am, portions of Surah Al-An'am. Surah Al-An'am is one of the first of the, in fact it is the first of the large surahs revealed. As you know, the first 10 surahs of the Quran are the largest surahs of the Quran. And in terms of revelation, Surah Al-An'am is the earliest of those that was revealed. Now yesterday we said Surah Al-Ma'idah was one of the last revelations. Today we're saying Surah Al-An'am is one of the first revelations. And this shows us a very common fact that every one of you should be aware of. And that is that the Quran was not arranged chronologically. The Quran is not arranged according to how it came down. Rather, there is a difference of opinion. Where did the surah's tartib or order come from? The strongest position is that it was the understanding of the Sahaba from the Prophet ﷺ, i.e. the Prophet ﷺ and the Sahaba together. After the death of the Prophet ﷺ, not every surah had a particular order. The Sahaba came together and they decided to put it in a particular order. And as it is very obvious, if you look at the Quran, they did put the larger surahs in the beginning and the smaller surahs in the end. So there is this notion of putting the larger surahs first and then the smaller surahs in that manner. Therefore, sometimes you have this type of anomaly. We can say that Surah Al-Ma'idah is one of the last revelations, and yet it comes before An'am. And Surah Al-An'am is one of the first revelations, and yet it comes after Ma'idah. Now Surah Al-An'am is one of my favorite surahs, really. And the reason is that it is such a powerful surah when it comes to describing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, talking about Tawheed. Surah Al-An'am came down when there was no salah, there was no zakah, there are no laws in An'am. In Ma'idah it's full of laws, because that's of the later revelations. An'am, it's nothing but theology. It's nothing but describing Allah, but rebuking idol worship, talking about the perfection and the power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So many verses deal with the majesty, the glory, the power, the names and attributes of Allah. So many verses deal with the beauty of Islam and the foolishness of idolatry. And one or two verses will shed some light on that our Shaykh recited. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, we recited this in the last rak'ah right now. أَوَمَنْ كَانَ مَيْتًا فَأَحْيَيْنَاهُ وَجَعَلْنَا لَهُ نُورًا يَمْشِي بِهِ فِي النَّاسِ كَمَنْ مَثَلُهُ فِي الظُّلُمَاتِ لَيْسَ بِخَارِجٍ مِنْهَا. This is an example, a parable that Allah has given in the Quran. And it is a follow-up of the same type of parable that we began the Quran with, which is light and darkness. Allah mentions light and darkness throughout the Quran. And light is always a symbol of Iman. And darkness is a symbol of kufr and evil and fasad. So Allah says, give the example of two types of people. Number one, the one that was dead. أَوَمَنْ كَانَ مَيْتًا. Then we gave him life. فَأَحْيَيْنَاهُ وَجَعَلْنَا لَهُ نُورًا. So we gave him life, then we gave him a light. وَجَعَلْنَا لَهُ نُورًا. Then number three, يَمْشِي بِهِ فِي النَّاسِ. He is walking amongst the people with his life and with his light. Then the second example, كَمَنْ مَثَلُهُ. The second example is the one فِي الظُّلُمَاتِ, who is in the darkness. لَيْسَ بِخَارِجٍ مِنْهَا. He will never exit from this darkness. So Allah gives these two parables. What is this parable? Ibn Abbas said, the example of the one who was dead, so we gave him life. This is not resurrecting from the graveyard. This is the example of the one who was not worshipping Allah. So Allah called him dead. فَأَحْيَيْنَاهُ. We gave him life by causing him to worship Allah. So this is a physically alive person, but Allah called him spiritually dead. His pulse of the heart is beating, but the pulse of Iman is a straight flat line. Then what happened? Allah guided him to Islam. فَأَحْيَيْنَاهُ. We gave him his life. And this shows us, brothers and sisters, that the real life is the life of the soul, and the real life is the life of Islam. That if you don't have Islam, Allah Azza wa Jalla has called you dead. Literally, this is exactly what the verse says. أَوَمَنْ كَانَ مَيْتًا. Mayyit, he's mayyit. فَأَحْيَيْنَاهُ. By giving him Islam. So Islam brings about a life to the heart. Islam brings about a life to the soul. And without Islam, even if your body is alive, the soul is dead. And the motif of death and life is another common parable in the Quran. Very common in the Quran. And the motif of darkness and light we already mentioned. So Allah says, give the example of the one who was dead, we caused him to come to life, and then we gave him a light. وَجَعَلْنَا لَهُ نُورًا. Scholars differ, what is the nur here? Primarily they say the nur is the Quran. Because Allah calls the Quran nur. Allah calls the Quran nur. وَأَنزَلْنَا إِلَيْكُمْ نُورًا مُبِينًا. We have sent down to you the clear nur. So Allah says He has Iman and He has the Quran. And so Iman is called life. And the Quran is called light. And then Allah says, and He's walking amongst the people alive and with this light. So He has activity, He has purpose. Is that the same as the one who is in the darkness, i.e. he's dead? He doesn't have life. He's dead and he will never leave the darkness. لَيْسَ بِخَارِجٍ مِّنْهَا. And the profundity here is multiple. Not only is life contrasted with death, but light is contrasted with darkness. And also activity with inactivity. I.e. Allah is saying the one who has the light, what is he doing? يَمْشِي بِهِ فِي النَّاسِ. He's walking amongst the people. He has a purpose, he has a social life. And by social life we don't mean just chit-chatting. Means he has a purpose, he has a vision. He's doing something productive, and that is being a Muslim on earth. So Allah calls him walking amongst the people. Is his example the same as the one who is in the darkness? When you're in the dark, imagine, right now imagine if all of us were in the dark. We would not even know how to find our way out. We would not have a purpose in life. As we said many times, light situates you, contextualizes you. Light shows you your destination. Light shows you how you get there, right? Whereas when you're in the dark, forget about a destination, you can't even go anywhere. Even if you have something in mind, right? If you don't have light, you're not going to be able to get there. And Allah says, and this is very profound, when you don't have Islam, what happens to your life? It becomes meaningless. There's no purpose. There's no vision. There's no goal, right? That's the whole point. So you're wandering in the darkness, Allah says. كَمَا مَثْلُ فِي الظُّلُمَاتِ لَيْسَ بِخَارِجٍ مِّنْهَا. You're wandering round, you're getting lost in the darkness. Why? Because every day you wake up and you have no vision. You have no goal. You just, if you don't have Islam, you're just like an animal. You have no ultimate vision. And Allah says when you have Islam, that is when you have light, that is when you have life, that is when you have productivity, social activity. You're walking amongst the people, you feel alive. And when you don't have Islam, you feel alone. You feel dark. You feel as if you're trapped. You feel as if there's no point in life. And this profundity is given in this simple paragraph. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives another example 2 verses later. Literally, in the same page, right underneath this, Allah mentions another example. أَفَمَنْ شَرَحَ اللَّهُ صَدْرَهُ لِلْإِسْلَامِ فَهُوَ عَلَى نُورٍ مِّن رَبِّهِ. Right? That Allah Azza wa Jal says, not أَفَمَنْ شَرَحَ اللَّهُ. What's the other one? Yeah. Shaykh Uthman, أَفَمَنْ شَرَحَ, no, it's not the فَمَنْ يُرِدِ اللَّهُ أَنْ يَشْرَحْ صَدْرَهُ. This is the other example. There's 2 شَرَحَ اللَّهُ صَدْرَهُ, and I mentioned the other one. فَمَنْ يُرِدِ اللَّهُ أَنْ يَهْدِيَهُ يَشْرَحْ صَدْرَهُ لِلْإِسْلَامِ. This is the one in Surah Al-An'am. The one that I quoted is in another surah. Whomever Allah wants to guide, He opens his chest for Islam. يَشْرَحْ صَدْرَهُ لِلْإِسْلام. And Allah mentions the same thing in another verse that I just quoted. أَفَمَنْ شَرَحَ اللَّهُ صَدْرَهُ لِلْإِسْلَامِ. Give the example of the one whose chest was opened with Islam. Now what does it mean? شَرَحَ الصَّدْرِ أَلَمْ نَشْرَحْ لَكَ صَدْرَكَ. You all know this phrase. شَرَحَ الصَّدْرِ. شَرَحَ الصَّدْرِ is actually an expression in Arabic. It's a metaphor. It has a meaning. We don't take it literally. شَرَحَ الصَّدْرِ, it means you can breathe with ease. Right? We even have an expression in English, you can breathe easy now. Right? What does it mean you can breathe easy now? Means, alhamdulillah, chill, it's alright. Correct? That's what it means. Allah is saying that when you have Islam, you can breathe easy. Meaning what? You're content. You're happy. Everything is fine. Whereas when you don't have Islam, Allah says that is He the same as the one whose sadr is ضيقا حرجا كأنما يصعد في السماء. That if you don't have Islam, then your chest will be constricted, ضيق, haraj, difficult to breathe, as if You are going high in the skies. Now there's no doubt there's a little bit of a scientific miracle here, because we all know that when you go high in the skies, what happens? You can't breathe. You can't breathe properly, right? And Allah mentions this in the Quran to a society that no matter which mountain you would go on, they couldn't breathe with difficulty. It wasn't that high. There's no Mount Kilimanjaro around, or any other large mountain around Mecca and Medina. Yet Allah says that the example of the one who does not have Islam is as if he is rising high in the sky. He can't breathe easily, right? That's exactly the point here. That when you have Islam, you are content, you're happy. When you don't have Islam, life becomes difficult. Life becomes meaningless. The problems of life just pile up on you. Whereas when you have Islam, the problems don't dissolve away, but they're no longer viewed with the problem that if you don't have Islam, right? Like the example I can give, very simple, we all understand. That the millionaire, when he's walking on the street, he sees a dollar. Is he gonna pick it up? No, alhamdulillah, he's got it, right? Or if he loses a dollar, somebody pickpockets a dollar from him. Is he gonna go to sleep at night and say, oh my God, I lost $1? He has $1 million, he doesn't care about $1. Whereas somebody who has $10, if $1 is stolen, he's gonna spend the whole night bemoaning the fact that $1 is stolen. So when you have Islam, and then your dollar is taken away, right? A little bit of a financial loss, a personal loss, tough situation at work. When you have Islam, alhamdulillah, you know that you have the real treasure. You know that these things come and go. Alhamdulillah, there's a bigger purpose in living, right? Whatever comes, whatever goes, Allah takes, Allah gives. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. That's the attitude that you have. Alhamdulillah, I have Islam. As one of the scholars of the past said, he who has Allah has everything. And he who doesn't have Allah has nothing. So when you don't have Islam, then what happens? The stock market crashes and you commit suicide. Because that is your life. That is the God that you worshipped, right? That is exactly the God that you worship. That the slightest thing happens and you cannot live peacefully anymore. And this is the whole point. That Allah Azza wa Jal is stressing here. That when you have Islam, you have a vision, you have a purpose, you have meaning. And the sufferings of this world become secondary. Whereas when you don't have Islam, you have no purpose, you have no light, you have no life, you have no vision, and every problem of this world becomes a difficulty for you to breathe, right? It's not as if the believer, all of a sudden his problems disappear. No, the believer, when he's faced with problems, he turns to Allah. And when he turns to Allah, those problems become very insignificant for him. As the dua of the Prophet, and we make this dua in witr, that the Prophet say, oh Allah, if you send a musibah down, don't put it in my religion, don't test me in my religion. The musibahs of this world, they're manageable. But the musibah of the religion, that's what I don't want. وَلَا تَجْعَلْ مُصِيبَتَنَا فِي دِينِنَا. This is the dua of the Prophet. We don't want a musibah in the deen. As long as I have deen, alhamdulillah, everything else I can manage. As long as I have you, oh Allah. As long as my faith in you is firm. And we learned this as well from the incident of Ta'if. That beautiful incident where the Prophet ﷺ was literally at the lowest of the low in his whole life. When Aisha asked him, what was the worst day that you ever experienced? Was it Uhud? The battle of Uhud, when Khalid ibn al-Walid came, you were surrounded, you were almost going to be killed if it were not for the blessings of Allah. What was the most lowest point in your life? He said, no, that wasn't the most difficult. The most difficult was the day of Ta'if. The day of Ta'if. That same month Khadija had died. Abu Talib had died. He felt socially alone. He lost his wife, that was the mother of his children, the companion, the supporter, Khadija. He lost his uncle Abu Talib. And Abu Lahab becomes the chieftain of Quraysh and decides he's going to kick the Prophet out. Khalas, you can't live in Mecca anymore. So he has no place to go. He goes to Ta'if. What happens? They kick him out. He feels completely abandoned. But what dua does he make? That beautiful dua, which goes back to this verse. That beautiful dua, that, oh Allah, as long as you are happy with me, فَلَا أُبَالِي, I don't care. I don't care. But your mercy is easier for me to deal with than this. If you're merciful, alhamdulillah. But as long as you're happy with me, then I don't care. Oh Allah, you have the right to do anything until you are pleased. I.e., do whatever you want, oh Allah, until you're pleased with me. Because that is the goal that the Prophet ﷺ had. And this shows us, brothers and sisters, that the mu'min values his relationship with Allah more than he values anything else. One of the fundamental points of the Quran is that true contentment and happiness, life, light, purpose, vision, only comes when you have a relationship with Allah. And if you don't have that relationship, then no matter what you have of this world, you are poor. No matter what you have of this world, you are faqir. The only true ghina, the Prophet ﷺ said, is the ghina of the heart, the richness of the heart. And that comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So let us think about this beautiful verse here, that Allah says, the one who has Islam, he has a life, he has a light, he has a purpose, he's socializing with the people, he can breathe with ease. And the one who doesn't have Islam, he has none of these things. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us of those who appreciate this blessing of Islam, who enjoy their worship of Allah more than they enjoy anything else. May Allah azza wa jal bless us with the spiritual life, with the light of the Quran. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us live as Muslims and die as Muslims and be resurrected as Muslims. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen wa sallallahu wa sallam wa barak ala abdihi Muhammadin wa alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. And just a reminder, tomorrow we have the Zakat seminar that we'll be giving at this time, and then on Saturday we have the qira'at that we'll do after Taraweeh. So tomorrow we'll have the Zakat seminar, and on Saturday night we have the qira'at after Taraweeh.